Hello lovies, welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, I'm Gina, aka Gina Louise. Those of you who keep coming back, thank you. Oh, and also, I need to mention something. When you leave a comment, if your YouTube name does not have your name in it, please sign your name. I love talking to all of you, but I like to know what your name is. A lot of times, well, most of the times, if your name is not in your YouTube channel name, I go to your channel and I look to see if you create things. I look to see who you are. I look for your stories. And a lot of you use no name there. And like, I can't address you to who you are. And there's several people that I talk to a lot on YouTube and I don't know your names. So please tell me your names. Okay, so I am going to make a dress out of this. I'm going away on vacation. I'm going to be away for the 4th of July. I have lots of parties where I'm going, and I want to make a really pretty 4th of July inspired dress. So, I don't know how many of you know Jana from Broken Ghost DIY on here. Her and I started our channels, our Etsy shops at the same time in 2009. We both started off as upcyclers, and I know her from there. And she has now opened a YouTube channel, which is fantastic. I watch it. I love her. I think she's great, and she looks awesome in everything she makes. So she has a tutorial on how to make a drop waist dress out of a t-shirt. I love it. I watched it. I'm about to do that today using her tutorial. And how I'm going to start this is I'm about to make you cringe because I'm taking a whole bunch of clothes, shirts, some dresses, and I'm going to be cutting them up right in front of you. I know some people are like, oh my God, that's so pretty. Why are you cutting it up? I'm cutting it up because I don't wear it, and it doesn't fit right. It doesn't look right. I don't like the way the fabric feels. Or there's a reason I don't wear it. So don't cringe when I start cutting these up, but I have a whole bunch of tops I'm cutting up. My fabrics, when I make something, are usually upcycled. They're from another piece of clothing. And I started my label. I have my own clothing label, and I started it back in 2000 and before 2009, because 2009 is when it blew up and I went into manufacturing. But I started by going to thrift stores and just finding vintage fabrics. I love vintage styles, cuts, different things. I would study the 60s, the 70s, and I kind of like, that's where I was inspired. So yeah, when I make something, I'm usually cutting something up. More than going and buying a piece of fabric from the fabric store. It was something before, and I just love the fabric and I want to make it into something else. So that's what I'm doing. Let's get started. I'm going to chop up a whole bunch of things, and don't cringe because I don't like the way they fit. So, and I probably picked them up for like $1. So here we go. Let's make Jana's from Broken Ghost DIY's channel tutorial on a drop waist dress. I have one on now. I don't know if you could see it. Let's see if I can show it to you better a little bit. So I made this. This is from a t-shirt and with a bunch of panels on it, and I kind of got inspired by Free People, and I love this. I wear it in the summer. Probably second or third summer. It's really long, but I tie a knot at the bottom. I have one side knotted, long. Can't see it with the camera, I'm sorry, but super cool and cozy, and I love it. But I'm going to make a 4th of July inspired one now using Jana's tutorial. Let's get started. First thing I'm doing is cutting off the sleeves. Now I'm measuring in 2 inches from the crew neckline so that I can create the armholes. I'm taking a piece of chalk, and from that 2-inch mark I'm going to just draw a curve all the way down to the bottom of the armhole. Okay, we need some measurements. Let's get going. First measurement, measure from your shoulder to where you would like the dress to end. If you want it at your knee, if you want it mini dress, a maxi dress, or a midi dress. Measure to the shoulder to where you want the dress to end. Measure from your shoulder to your hips. This is where you're going to cut your t-shirt. You want to cut it at your hips. My measurement was 18.5 inches. I am 5'2". Okay, so now I'm measuring from the shoulder down 18.5 inches where my hip is. We're going to be adding a 3-inch panel to this. You can take that into consideration if you want to make it like I would cut mine at 15.5 if I was going to do that. But I'm not doing that. I'm going with the 3 inches more, hanging down a little lower than my hip. It's a drop waist dress. I'm just taking my acrylic ruler and I'm going to make a nice straight line, mark it off with chalk, and then cut it. Now I'm folding the top in half and I'm lining up the sleeves because that line that I made before, the 2 inches away from the neck, I am going to cut that out now. You want the armholes to be even, so the best way to do this is to fold the t-shirt in half and just cut them in one shot together. I'm going to be adding side panels to this, so I'm just going to cut off 2 inches under the armpit to the bottom on both sides. Now I'm just bringing that other piece over to this side so that I have even amount being cut off, and I'm just going to follow that and use that as my little pattern, and I'm going to cut that off. Now I cut my 3-inch band, and the strip was taken from another t-shirt. And when Jana did hers, she cut it 3.5 inches. She had for the seam allowance. I'm keeping mine at 3 inches. I'm not a tall person, and I know Jana is, I believe she said she's like 5'7", so she's tall. I'm not. I'm going to keep this at 3 inches, and I'm just going to sew my band to the front and the back. I left a little extra fabric on both sides just in case it shifts around while I'm sewing, and then after I sew it on, I'll just cut that off and make it even with the ends of the top. I'm just going to pin it in place, and then I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew this with a small zigzag stitch. I made a little template out of Christmas wrap for my side panels. I just made it 2 inches at the top, and I made it 7 at the bottom because I wanted it to fit around my waist, and I wanted the top to fit around my bust. And I always use my river rocks to hold my pattern piece down so I can just cut around it. So this was another t-shirt. It had these little blue, navy blue lines and dots on it, and I thought this would be cute. That would go nice with my red, white, and blue that I'm doing. Since I'm going to use my regular sewing machine and not my serger, I normally like to do this with my serger and have exposed seams, but I don't feel like threading up my serger. So I am using my regular sewing machine, and I'm using a needle for stretch jersey, and I am just going to pin right sides together, and I'm going to sew that down, and I'm going to do it on the other side. Then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to sew right sides together, the panel to the back as well. So this mosaic heart that you see on the front here is a patch that I made that I was playing around with and contemplating whether I was going to put that on the front or not. I decided not to. When Jana did hers, I believe she left the side panels the way they were. I cut them in a little bit of a curve to go into the sides, which opened them up a little bit more. And then you're going to see why I did that later on in the video. I'm now trimming off the side panels because they're a little bit longer than my panel, the band around the hip that I added. I didn't allow for the seam allowance on that band. That's why mine is a little longer. First time I'm doing this and I'm learning, learning. So next time I will realize that I didn't do a 3.5-inch band. I did a 3-inch band. So, okay. I cut some 1.5-inch strips from that t-shirt that I made the hip band from. And I am going to put these around the armhole and the neckline, just like Jana did. I'm going to pin it in place because this is the first time I'm doing this. So half of it goes underneath to the wrong side of the fabric, and then you're folding it over. The other half gets folded over the front, and then you do a nice zigzag stitch all around. I'm going to use a little fancier zigzag stitch because my machine has that. And as soon as I get this pinned in place, I'm going to take you over to the sewing machine and show you. So I'm just removing the pins now that I feel like the band is secure with my sewing machine needle. And as Jana was saying, that you have to slightly pull on the band as you're sewing, not on the garment, not on the top, but on the band. So I'm doing this all the way around the armpit and the neckline. The band around the armhole gives it such a nice professional look. I just love this. I'm glad I learned how to do this from Jana. And now I'm going to cut a V-neck. I want this crew neck off. I want a V-neck. I want a little deeper on the top. So I'm just finding my center of my t-shirt right now. And I'm just going to cut down and then I'm going to come up to the band around the neck and I'm going to remove that. And then I'm going to take it over to my machine and I'm going to use that blue strip again that I used on the armholes, and I'm going to finish off the neckline as well. Now I'm just cutting a curved line up to the neckband and I'm removing it in the front and the back. Hello lovies, this is the part of my video where I stop and I interrupt you and I say, do you like what you see so far? And if you do, give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of this content, consider subscribing to my channel. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything. And if you hit the little bell on the side, it will let you know and give you a notification when I put up a new video. Now I'm taking that strip of t-shirt fabric and I am doing the neckline. Then I'm going to bring it over to my sewing machine, sew it again with the fancy zigzag, and I will show you how it looks. So this is what I have so far. I'm loving the way it looks already. And now I'm going to take those cut up blouses and dresses and I'm going to make a bunch of panels. I'm going to put them together. I'm using red, whites, and blues, and I'm going to randomly put them together, and then I'm going to sew them to the bottom. So here comes the part when I chop up a whole bunch of clothing because I want the fabric, and I'm going to make the panels now. Here is my nice pretty stack of fabrics that I have, and I started to make some patches because I wasn't sure what I wanted to put on it. I made some hearts, and I made some flags, and I made some clusters of some pretty hearts with bows and ribbons, and we will see how I decorate this. So I measured around my waist and well, the hip area, and I doubled it. I times it by 2, and then I sewed my fabrics together in a random pattern until I had, I believe, 84.5 inches is what I needed. And then I took this long panel that I sewed together and I added it to the waistband. I started to gather and pin it right sides together, my waistband and the long panel that I stitched together, and the rest of it I'm going to gather as I sew it at my sewing machine. That's my preferred way of doing it. Okay, here's what I have now. I have everything put together. I love the way it looks. I love all the random patches, the red, white, and blue. I just love it so much. And I am going to embellish it now. I made this little cluster that I'm going to put at my waist. It's a heart patch. It's got a little piece of crochet. It has a ribbon hanging from it. And I put in the center a very sparkly, glittery blue heart. And I just love the way it looks. I'm putting it at the waistband. I'm going to put the red and white ribbon up on top. And I'm going to put some random patchwork hearts I made throughout. This is a ribbon from a dress that I cut up. I am going to cut it in half, sew it on each side of the armhole so that I can tie this dress as tight as I want. Now I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew on these ribbons. I'm going to sew on my patches, and then I'm going to show you the final results. And now for the final results.
Never really know what's going on. Look at me sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart so slow. But if you don't wanna tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Losing almost all my energy. It's getting hard to talk to you, and I'm the only one who speaks. It's all the things you never show.
Thanks for watching.